Hey everybody, how's it going? I am bringing you a brand new race video today. This is from this past weekend at the Tour of Galena, which is actually an Omnium series with a time trial, a road race, and then this criterium. I didn't do the time trial mostly because I am just not a fan of time trials. I can't seem to pace myself right in them, and I struggle a lot. And I did want to do the road race, but after taking some of the advice of a couple other friends and teammates who had ridden it, I decided to not do so because they said for a rider like me, also it could be just a heavier rider like myself, it's not really my kind of race. And I was okay with that. I think I'm going to do it next year though, just give it a try. Why not? But I did show up for this crit. I felt pretty good this past week when I showed up, especially coming off that top 10 placing at States. It's not a win, but it was top 10, and I did get paid for it. So there was a lot of firepower in this race. You can see this guy right here to my right, and then this guy as well. That's Andrew, and then Dane. Those two guys are super strong. They've been doing super well this year in all of the series. I'm sure you've seen them in some of my other videos. But it was a pretty quick race. It was a pretty hard race as well. Every time we came out of that corner, we just exited. It was hammered down into this finishing straight, which is in a headwind as well. You'll kind of see the flag start to move as the race goes on. You'll notice the temperature is pretty nice. It was a nice 85 degrees, but we did have some crazy humidity as well. And unfortunately, all I had brought with me to race in was a 3/4 length skin suit. So I was pretty hot, and you can kind of notice that my body temperature and my heart rate reflects that. I think my average heart rate for this race was 191, which is quite a bit higher, at least 5 beats higher than it normally is in a race. But I was okay. I did struggle a little bit to keep my temperature down for some of the race, but overall it was alright. You can see me kind of stick behind my teammate Dominic here. It was just us two in this race. Normally in the fours, we have a pretty big fours team, so we have a decent amount of guys, but it was just him and I in the fours for this race. A lot of our other teammates had other stuff going on. This is a preem lap. You can kind of see the front of the group start to move pretty quickly here. And I knew that I needed to stay towards the front of the pack, especially in this corner right here, because if you're not in the front of the pack in this corner, you just have to grab so much brake when you're behind everyone else that it's really hard to catch up. I mean, you can still see how hard I'm working just to stay with this front group here. So we slow up after we get the lap preem, and yeah, I really just wanted to work on staying towards the front, staying out of the wind, moving up where I could this race. Like I said, I felt pretty good, but I knew that if I was going to be sticking my nose out in the wind and doing a lot of work, that I wasn't going to be able to produce any kind of desired result. So here you can see the group's pretty bunched up, and we come up to this corner, and I'll just let you see what happens right here. Some riders collide, a guy goes down. He was fine. He actually got right back up, and then the next lap he was back in the race. But it did kind of stretch the group out quite a bit, as you can see here, and made some of us work pretty hard to get back on. And so, yeah, I just wanted to move up here and kind of get out of the wind, not get stuck by myself. And I do see this opening here where I see it's pretty open to move up here on the right-hand side. And although, again, I am in the wind still, I figure I'll put in a little bit of extra work and try and move up. So this corner, I noticed that I wasn't pushing it as hard as I could through that corner, and I did lose quite a few spots throughout the race from that. But overall, it wasn't too bad because I was able to make them up on the back straight. You can kind of see here that we're coming into the finish line, or out of the finish line, excuse me, and the group's pretty spread out. We're not really bunched up or strung out at all. You can see I am pretty far back here. So again, in my head, I'm thinking I need to move up, I need to move up. So I kind of try to do it calmly and just try and make my way through the pack when I can. Like I said, I didn't want to put in a ton of hard efforts because I knew that if I did that, I wasn't going to have anything left for the end. So we are getting towards the end of the race here. You can see a couple of guys are just a couple seconds off the front, and we're trying to reel them back in here. We don't really have that great of an organized group, just kind of guys, you know, one after the other pushing up towards the front. If we would have worked a little bit harder, we probably would have caught them a little bit quicker. But we do end up catching them after we go through the finishing straight up here in just a second. This is another real good racer, buddy of mine named Zernu. I was sticking on his wheel for quite a bit throughout the race as well. You can see my teammate Dominic to the left. As we come through the finish line, we starting to reel those guys off the front in, and I let Dominic know, you know, hey, this is a great time to go if you can go. We just caught those guys, so kind of put in a counter move if you feel like you have it in you. He sees this guy start to go and grabs on his wheel. Nothing ends up coming of it. We do end up just kind of reeling those guys back in, which is good for me. You know, it's a lot easier for me to win a field sprint than it is to have to put in a real hard effort in a breakaway. So I am going to go ahead and spoil it for you guys, spoil the end of the race for you guys, mostly because, unfortunately, again, my camera turned off before the race was over. This is with probably about 8 laps left, I think. Marty is pulling on the front, and he just kind of lets some guys go by. He doesn't want to work too hard, which is totally understandable. So I grab his wheel. We have a few laps left, and what ends up happening is that Triple X guy that you saw just past me on the left, he ends up pulling for the last few laps, and my buddy Andrew from earlier in the video is second wheel, and then I was third wheel, and Triple X guy pulls off. Andrew hauls ass through the last 2 corners, man, and he had a sick lead on myself and another rider, and he almost maintained it to the finish line. But the guy that was behind me came around me, and I almost pinched Andrew at the line, but our buddy Dane ended up getting first. Andrew got second, and finally, I took a podium place with third. So hopefully we can keep this up. Hopefully we can start raking in some more podiums. Hopefully some wins as well. And as always, guys, I hope you liked the video, and I'll see you next time.